I think if you study, and if you read those who have studied, and it is a deeply studied topic by brilliant people of the rise of autocracy and how democracies fall into autocracy. There is always an element that the autocrats convince the other side that their cause is hopeless, that there's nothing we can do. And what happened, if you look at what happened in Hungary, and you got to wrap your mind, I was in Hungary, it was an election that would have been like the dream conditions of what Trump is trying to do. The opposition against Orban was very limited in any advertising they could buy. They were very limited where they could put up billboards. They couldn't buy radio places. They couldn't buy television. There were places where it was very hard for them to get permits to campaign. This was a state-controlled election. And yet Orban was humiliated. And, you know, I wrote a piece for Lincoln Square, which I really hope you'll read. I guess it came out this morning, comparing the weekend that I was in Berlin filming when the Berlin Wall came down. And the scenes there of, you know, just total joy and strangers hugging strangers and the sense of possibility that the world was a brighter place than we had dared hope a week before. And when I looked at the images out of Budapest, I had that same feeling that they had done something that they thought might be impossible, and they had proved to themselves that they were, that there was no inevitability to the decline of democracy. And I would say Virginians have done the same here. And in a macro sense, if you're a Democratic candidate for president, and there's going to be a bunch of good ones, what is the lesson? The lesson is to fight. That is what people are drawn to. And let's go back to Gavin Newsom. After the 24 election, Gavin Newsom, who's not a bad politician, he thought the smart thing to do was to tack right. And he had Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon on his podcast. And what did Democrats do? They kind of threw up on his shoes. They said, like, have you lost your fucking mind? And Newsom, not a bad politician, did what not bad politicians do. He adjusted. And then he started mocking Trump. And he's been rewarded for that. Same with the governor of Illinois. Standing up to Donald Trump is what the voters want. And that has to be played out. And I believe that one of the essential issues in the Democratic primary process needs to be an articulation of the dedication and the mechanics of how you're going to prosecute the criminality of the Trump administration. If Stephen Miller is not on trial after Democrats win, Democrats have failed. If he's not indicted, if Kristi Noem is not indicted, if individual ICE agents are not exposed, put on a public list, those that can be proven to have acted illegally should be prosecuted. It's got to be at the top. And, you know, you could make a case that all that would happen after Trump is if we had a reversion to normalcy, people would be so grateful for that they would reward it. The problem is that's what happened with Joe Biden. And it wasn't enough. And the system failed to hold Trump accountable. And now, you know, these thugs are all over the government, like Kash Patel. They're rooting out the dedicated FBI agents who followed the law, which kind of really rings true with me because my dad was an FBI agent. And the Justice Department, they've turned into like trying to turn it into like one of these non-functional Trump lawyer firms that will go and represent Trump. So you have the guy who's now basically, he is the acting Attorney General of the United States, gets on a plane and flies down to Florida to spend 2 days talking to the largest, the most notorious convicted pedophile of our time, probably the most notorious convicted pedophile in history, to get her into a club fed. Think about that. Our Justice Department, Todd Blanche, got a pedophile from a real prison in a club fed where she can have yoga lessons in a pet, even though having a sex offender in that facility goes against the Prison Bureau guidelines. That's what happened to the Republican Party. Talk to me about family values, guys. Really, really. So this is hopeful. I think it's encouraging. And, you know, I just say to Democrats and to all of us, this is a time to stay angry. We have a lot to be angry about. We should be in the remember and do not forgive mode until this country is put back on track, and hold those responsible.